You are listening to the Chompcast, the official podcast of Sword Chomp. And remember, you can always go to swordchomp.com, where you can access the many places our podcast is available for download. But if you're listening to the show right now, that means you found us. So welcome to the madness that is the Chompcast. You can also find us on Patreon if you want to support us. Patreon.com/swordchomp. If you'd like to support us there financially, look for our VIP tier, but more on that later. Which way shall our moral compass guide us this week on the Chompcast? Will it keep our depraved hearts from the usual vile humor and dick jokes, or will it guide us into a path of a very different show, one that is wholesome intellectual fun for the whole family to enjoy? I don't know, I can't tell. My moral compass is covered with man batter, a deep layer of crusted man batter. But you know what? That brings me to the topic of the show, which is morality in video games. Ethical decisions, everything along those lines. And how those, moral decisions have affected our depraved hearts over the many years. And we're going to use help from the @SwordChomp Instagram community to talk about that. So, moral decisions in gaming. This is a show that's a long time coming. Poll topics this week include Spider-Man vs. Arkham Knight. Should Fish buy an Xbox One or a PS4 or a PC? Killer Croc, The Legend of Gobos. Just kidding. And loneliness. That's right. The nature of how we deal with it as human beings, and most importantly, as gamers. Which should make the show kind of a little more introspective than usual, which is fine. We maybe follow up on a little Spider-Man, and of course, we will run down the Tokyo Game Show a little bit, because last week, our very own Japanese correspondent, Shay Layton, the professor, was on the scene for his very first TGS, and he actually joins us today. Hello, Shay. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good. I'm glad to be back. Rich took my place last week. He did a pretty good job. I'm proud of him. He always, takes the mantle. But, there's just no replacing me. This doesn't feel like the Chompcast without me here. To make
it's true.
The worst dick jokes and the worst puns out of all of us.
We can't replace you, Shay. It's sort of like when my fiance asked me to wear a sheath over top of my package. There's no replacing me. You know what I mean? It's just not the same.
It's true. I knew that this joke was coming, and it was funny. The listeners can't see this, but Josh knew the joke was coming. The second you started talking, he set his head down because he already knew he was going to head shake. He put his head down, anticipating the head shake he was going to be doing.
Was it just the word fiance, Josh? Was that all I did it?
I knew exactly where the joke was going, so I had to have my hand securely over my face before it happened.
It's true. He didn't want to smack his own face so hard in the face palm that he renders himself unconscious for this episode.
Yeah, you have to be safety conscious with jokes like these around.
It's true. OSHA will be on our asses.
Well, I guess we've already proved this will not be a wholesome family podcast at this point. That's for sure. First dildo sheath joke of the year. But yeah, Shay, we're glad to have you back. I have a section where I want to ask you some questions about TGS.
Cool.
We got some really cool pictures from your TGS experience that are on the VIP Patreon Instagram, VIP Patreon Instagram page. So if you sign up for our VIP Patreon, which is $5, that's our tier, you can see some of the stuff that we added this week. There was this one I really like the Catherine booth. For the new Catherine remaster. It's like you actually go under her dress as if you're walking into her giant crotch somehow to play all the. That's kind of risque for a trade show, I would think.
Yeah, I figured you would appreciate that. I'll save anything I want to say about that for later, because I have stories about that booth, so I'll keep it all. And I'll save it for later.
Ooh, what happens in the Catherine booths does not stay in the Catherine booth. Am I right?
What happens under her skirt?
Oh, man. Only they made it out of a curtain instead of so it actually looked like the skirt kind of. I could have put a lot of work into that booth. They need the right kind of pervert. They need me, the right kind of creep. Anyways, Shay, the professor, we're glad you're back here this week. So I have some catch-up questions for you because you missed a big show last week. So I'll get to that in a little bit.
Cool.
It's gonna be fun. Anyways, up next, of course, from Texas, the Filipino Johnny Depp, a man whose moral compass is not covered in crusted man batter like mine. In fact, he can't even find his moral compass. He's pretty sure he lost it in a stripper's asshole. Not 100% sure, just fairly certain. I have to go back and check. How you doing, Fish?
Oh, pretty good. Yeah. Still looking for that compass, of course, but I've given up on it.
Naturally, he was trying to find the male G spot.
In a stripper's ass? Yeah, I
didn't say it was a male or female.
Nobody said this was a female stripper, Fish.
Okay.
Where
I guess
is
I
it?
lost
can't
it at
find
that
it.
club. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, no judgment.
Yeah.
As long as you had a good time, sexuality is fluid. Get out there.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Enjoy your life.
If they're sexy and they're having a good time, there's nothing more attractive than that.
Yeah.
Man or woman.
That's right. Yeah, glad you're here, Fish. I like the idea of the visual representation of, your something serious like your morality, in a physical object somehow, and then I like the image of losing that object in a stripper's asshole. So
In an asshole. Yeah.
there's a lot of layers of subtext there if you want to dig in it. You know what I'm saying?
Dig, yes.
There we go. There we go. All right. Making sure we're all awake here. Glad you're here, Fish, of course. The one and only. And of course, speaking of assholes, I'm glad you can make it today, Josh. Not because you're an asshole. I've said Joshua Fowler's actually here from Michigan. His eye's actually all swollen this week. I can see him on the webcam here. He's showing us before the show. All red and swollen. Josh, my understanding is that you were just reaching for one of your anal beads, but you forgot there was still some lube on your fingers and it just shot right out like a rocket?
Yeah, it's as nice as silicone lube is, it's you have to mentally prepare for it. If you're not in the right headspace, you can just, really just kind of let, the pressure, normal grasping pressure is drastically different whenever something has got, just that little friction.
It's true.
So it's
you gotta make sure your head is in the right space.
Mm-hmm.
You should really have a warning on that lube bottle, I think. Some sort of hazard warning, right?
Well, it came with an orange safety cone.
Oh, okay. Wow.
To,
a safety cone.
Yeah.
Just one?
Well, I assume they think you're going to put it by the door. But, yeah, really, there should be one for, I don't know, maybe when I get the next bottle, I'll have another one for the other door, just to remind myself. Yeah.
Really? They're going to have a lawsuit on their hands. How many
they'll have it on their hands, but then they'll lose it right away. It's just so slick.
Oh, there we go. Whoop! Oh, that's good.
That one almost slid right by us.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Come on, Fish, bring it up. Take it home.
You guys are just popping out with all these nice puns.
No?
Okay. Fuck you guys.
Yeah.
No, but we're glad you're here, Josh. Recovering from your injury, but a wounded eye will not keep you from gracing us with your opinions, because your mouth is still working fine, as far as I know. So, just made me think of that thing from A Christmas Story. You're gonna shoot your eye out, kid. I don't know why. For some reason, that was running into my head as soon as we were talking about that, and I really
love
don't
that
know
movie.
Why.
That is probably the best Christmas movie, without cheating and saying Die Hard like an asshole.
Yeah, don't be that guy.
Yeah, nobody likes that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Come on.
I don't know. Home Alone's a pretty close one. Home Alone is damn good.
It's up there. It's up there.
Have you watched it recently?
But the Christmas is pretty tangential.
That's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's like picking your favorite children.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, I can't do it.
Macaulay Culkin or Christmas Story kid's name?
Christmas Story kid's name.
If only Macaulay Culkin was in the Christmas Story, it would have been perfect. Maybe not. I, of course, am Morgan from Montana, a.k.a. General Mountain Time. And I'm excited for this show because not only do I have some things I want to catch up with Shay because he was gone last week from our PlayStation Classic debate, but I've been digging in, Batman and Spider-Man and like moral conundrums and like loneliness. This is like a Morgan show through and through. I want to start with this, Shay, because I cleared some of my space here in the intro. You were gone last week. I know some of our listeners missed you. When you were listening to, here's our top 20 that we decided on with Rich. Okay, now Rich is not an official member to decide the PS Classic, but he had a hand in helping build this list. We need your final stamp of approval. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So these are the 20 games that we decided on for our PS Classic, and if you missed last week's show, this will be helpful for you because we fought about this for like 2 hours. The 5 that they announced with it: Tekken 3, Jumping Flash, Ridge Racer, Wild Arms, Final Fantasy VII. The 15 that we decided on were Tony Hawk, Medieval, Symphony of the Night, a Hot Shots golf game, Twisted Metal game, a Cool Borders game, a Wipeout game, a Gran Turismo game, a Crash Bandicoot game, a Spyro game, a Tomb Raider game, a Resident Evil game, a Parappa the Rappa game, a Metal Gear Solid game, and a Final Fantasy Tactics. How do you feel about that?
I mostly feel good. Mostly. Like
mostly. Okay.
I was listening to it at work and I was silently seething at certain parts. I was like, what the fuck are you guys saying? Like some of this stupid shit that was coming out of your guys' mouths. Frustrating.
Like what? What's something that really drove you crazy? What's something that you heard and you were like, oh, these motherfuckers.
Well, we've already been arguing about it off the air. We were arguing about it in the chat, but Jumping Flash, which we will obviously get to later when you guys were talking about that. Yeah. Just some of the games you were like, when you guys were like, Spyro 2 is the best one of the 3. I was like, shut the fuck up. No way. First one's the best one, easily. But to be fair, I'm in the minority there. I know a lot of people think the second one is the best.
They're both really good.
Yeah.
They're both really good.
What makes those tricky, though, is that they're like, a lot of those series have 3 great games. Like, sometimes it's really easy. Like, with Nintendo, it was really easy for them to pick, like, Super Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, and stuff. But for a lot of these PlayStation series, I don't see how they're going to pick on one. You know what I mean? Like, how do you just pick one Resident Evil, Tomb Raider, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro?
It's
like
true.
Mm-hmm. I don't know.
They have their work cut out for them. I will say that, because honestly, they're like they could fill up at least half or a third of that system with Final Fantasy games at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to pick a variety because, like you guys had actually mentioned, that system was predominantly action-adventure games and RPGs. However, there were still some really good games to come out of that era that were not in those 2 categories. So either way, you're going to slight some fans, You're going to slight some fans with not including certain JRPGs that were super pivotal during that time. It's hard for me to like pick because a lot of the choices I would have made were pretty underground choices. So for example, there's a game called Herc's Adventures, and I've talked with you guys about this years ago, 2 years ago, roughly now. It was from the creators of Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and it was a super good game, but it was pretty underground. And could I ever see that making it on there? No. Hell no.